Dan Graziano, a lot of NFL combine rumors coming out of Indy. ESPN's Dan Graziano is reporting the 49ers have at least some interest in re-signing Chase Young, who may, they say, have to take a 1-year kind of prove it type deal to return to the Niners. I mean, they got to do something quick here. They got Bosa, they got Drake, they got Beal, and that's it. The rest of the guys, Farrell, Gregory, Chase Young, they're all free agents. And you can't lean on all rookies, especially this year. I don't love the depth of the edge rusher class. I mean, there's guys throughout all 7 rounds of the draft that are viable and interesting, but I don't love them all. I only love a handful of them. The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking. I love Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State. I love Javon Solomon from Troy, but there's not. I love Jonah Ellis from Utah. And they've met with all those guys, and they've met with Darius Robinson from Missouri, who I like, Austin Booker from Kansas. But it gets a little thin after that. It really does. So what do you think of this one? I mean, Chase Young, if you told me after the NFC Championship Cadillac effort that he was coming back, I would have said no way, no how. But in some ways, the fact that thing got so publicized, everybody, I think it hurt his market and maybe made it more likely that he comes back here on a 1-year prove it deal. I love the way Chase played in the Super Bowl, man. His hair was on fire. What do you think of bringing Chase Young back for 1 year at low money?
That's the only way I'd do it because he was inconsistent with us. I mean, before he came to the Niners, he was having a fantastic season with Washington. It was a contract year. He came to the Niners. So yeah, maybe there's a little bit of a transitional period, but that first game when he came in with the Jaguars, I mean, it was like, oh my God, we got this stuff. You got Bosa, you got Chase Young. He made a great first impression, Larry. So after that, he was able to kind of coast along the way, and people are like, oh, he's good. He has his moments. He's getting the pressures, but he did. He was very inconsistent. But that Super Bowl was exactly what he needed, I think. But I agree with what you just said in terms of, I think his, inconsistencies was very well documented throughout the year. And I think that will hurt his stock in the free agency market. I'm sure there's going to be teams that throw him money, but I feel like at the end of the day, his best chance, if he wants to really maximize himself, stay with the Niners, take a 1-year prove it deal, get a lot of incentives where, and I think if the 49ers are going to bring him back, it's going to be incentive laden and say, hey, look, you play this many games, you get this many sacks, you get this, you get this many millions extra. I think that's the way to play it. They do need edge rush depth because I agree. You can't just rely on rookies. Look what happened last year. They relied on Drake. They put a lot of pressure on that young man, and he got hurt and he couldn't carry the torch. So they definitely need to figure something out on the edge department because they have no depth right now in the D line. So I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't hate it. But if they give him a 3-year deal, I'll hate it.
I agree. No long-term deal. Keep the carrot dangling at all times. When you got a guy with questionable motivation, the last thing you do is give him a long-term deal. But if Chase wants to, come back and he likes the culture, I mean, I'd take him back. Bosa likes him. I like him. The guy wears a $10,000 chain with a half a can of dip in the lip. I told him it's an awesome look, man. I mean, seriously, you're sitting there and you got all this bling going and you're working just the biggest freaking lipper of all time. You got half a can of Grizzly up front and you got 10 grand around the neck. I mean, that's a look. That is a look. I got bling for days and I'm packing in the lower tank.
Right.
If Chase Young wants to come back, I'm all about that. As much as I like Randy Gregory, I felt like he was a little too light for their scheme. And as much as I like Farrell, he doesn't have special, get to the quarterback traits. At least Chase Young, when he's playing hard, is a force who can do it.
I like Farrell though because he set the edge I
like Farrell too, but
I want him to bring Farrell back.
He doesn't have a lot of speed.
But that's the thing with Farrell. When he was drafted, I think the Raiders drafted him because they thought he was going to be that get to the quarterback guy. He's more that in-betweener. He's more that 3 technique kind of guy. He's really good stopping the run. He was never great at pass rushing, and that's the thing. I think they drafted him to rush the passer, but I feel like if you watched him in Clemson, I mean, that Clemson team he came from was just loaded. They had so many stars on that D line. So yeah, he was going to rack up sacks because it was a star-studded a team there. So when he came to the NFL, he was definitely overdraft. He was just definitely overdraft. But I like Farrell. I want to keep him. I just worried about the knee because he had meniscus surgery, and another guy that had meniscus surgery, Larry, Arik Armstead, year 10. We want to talk about trade player. We talked about Debo earlier. Let's be honest here. Arik Armstead, I love the guy, and he had a fantastic playoff season. But he played like 6 games. There needs to be something done with Arik Armstead. Restructure the contract or something because this man's knee is now coming into the season off a meniscus tear, or a meniscus injury. So I don't know. That's the guy I would trade.
Is there a market for him as a trade candidate? I don't know.
That's the problem. Get a younger D.
A restructure sounds right, but then you sit there and go, well, wait a second. You restructure guys, then you're going to have to keep him on the roster longer. He's probably heading into what could be his final year. He's not that old, but he's been beat up. What do you think? I mean, Mike Silver referenced, man, the Niners are going to make some dramatic moves.
Yeah.
So, moving Cleveland Farrell is not dramatic. Moving Kittle, moving Debo, moving Armstead. When I say moving off, either cutting, trading, whatever. If you're moving off of those guys, Ayuk, now that kind of, one, I don't know how much you believe Silver. I don't know who his source is on that. But what do you think? If a major big name foundation piece Niner has got to go, who should it be?
It's Arik Armstead. But the thing is, like you just said, and that's what I was getting to, is what's the market for Arik Armstead? I don't think you get much out of him. I don't even think maybe a 5th rounder. And that in lies of, you go back to a couple years ago when they went to Defoe and Armstead. Armstead's market wasn't good then, and it's damn well not good anymore, especially 10 years, knee injuries, the plantar fasciitis. He doesn't have a high market. So, yeah, maybe they got to restructure. But I agree. If there's a difficult decision that has to be made, it's difficult because it's Armstead. We don't know. They probably are like, damn, we can't really trade him. Okay, we can't just cut him because we're going to take a big dead cap. Do we keep him?
Don't have his replacement. He's clearly your best run defender, D tackle.
Yeah. I think that's the hard decision. What do you do with Arik Armstead? And he's a phenomenal player. I think he's been a great captain, but at some point you got to retool that position because there's a lot of young defensive linemen out there that you can replace him with. So